Imagine someone hands you like a small, perfectly square white cube.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right. So your memory instantly fires up. It cross-references past experiences and tells you, oh, that's sugar.
Makes total
So you
sense.
confidently put it in your mouth and swallow. But it's cyanide.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's bad.
Right. Your brain literally just killed you because it trusted a deeply ingrained past memory over the objective reality of the present moment.
It relied on the old data.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, how often do you sit there just nodding along to a conversation, completely and utterly convinced that you understand what is happening, when actually your brain has completely missed the point?
Oh, all the time. We are totally trapped in our own historical data.
Which brings us to today. Welcome to today's deep dive, where we are jumping right into the hidden architecture of human comprehension.
It's a huge topic.
It really is. Today, we're unpacking the mechanics of cognitive bias, and we're using this fascinating transcript from a YouTube video titled Purethol, which means understanding, by the channel SivaYogi.
Yeah, the SivaYogi material is intense.
It is. And our mission today is to break down the literal mechanics of how we comprehend the world, why our brains constantly construct false realities, and how, stripping away our deepest preconceptions might literally be the only way to find actual truth.
It really demands that we interrogate the entire foundation of what we consider knowledge.
Right.
I mean, we operate under this delusion that human communication is just a clean transfer of data. But this material forces us to look at the severe, basically biological and psychological filtration systems that warp every single thing we experience.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Right.
Because the best way I can kind of visualize the core argument here is to imagine your brain is a faulty language translation app on your phone.
I like that. A broken app.
Yeah, like you input a phrase, something you see or hear or experience, and what comes out on the screen on the other side is completely warped.
Because it's using a bad dictionary.
Exactly. It's warped because that app is using its own internal, highly personalized, totally hidden dictionary to translate the world for you. It's not giving you an objective translation. It's giving you a customized hallucination based on what it already knows.
Your translation app analogy actually hits perfectly on the crucial friction between raw perception and cognition.
How so?
Well, to comprehend why miscommunication is basically the default human state, we have to isolate the exact moment raw data hits the brain. The speaker in the transcript defines understanding as a very specific sequence.
Right, he breaks it down mechanically.
Yeah. So raw sensory input, like the acoustic waves hitting your eardrum or photons hitting your retina, that is objective. It is just data.
Right, the raw input is just the baseline, like knowledge of seeing or knowledge of hearing.
Yes. But that data is not understanding. The catastrophic errors happen in the very next microsecond.
Right, when the brain gets involved.
Exactly. The brain takes that raw data and immediately subjects it to a comparative process. The speaker refers to this as being cognizant.
Meaning it's comparing the new stuff to the old stuff.
Precisely. Your neurological network frantically searches for a pattern. It runs the new experience against an accumulated ledger of old experiences. And the final, synthesized essence that you lock away in your mind, that is what you label understanding.
Which brings us to that conceptual model he introduces, the idiot box.
The idiot box, yeah.
I mean, it sounds like an insult, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually a mechanical description of a flawed system.
What's fascinating here is that the idiot box functions as a black box algorithm where the output drastically differs from the input.
Because everyone's box is wired differently.
Exactly. Because the architectural wiring of everyone's prior experiences is unique, the exact same input will inherently, unavoidably produce a different understanding for every single person.
Like if someone just says a simple phrase.
Right. Consider a benign acoustic input like someone saying, God is one. The input is identical for everyone in the room.
But the reactions are wild.
Totally wild. Depending on the internal dictionary of each listener's idiot box, one person's brain triggers a flood of dopamine and peace.
Sure.
Another person finds it absurd and just laughs. And a third person's amygdala spikes into a threat response and they fly into a rage because they feel their specific religious identity is under attack.
Wow.
The input is constant. The idiot box output is wildly divergent.
Well, let me push back on that a little bit on the absolute nature of this subjectivity.
Go for it.
Because if every single person processes reality differently based on their own isolated idiot box, isn't an objective shared truth completely impossible? I mean, we still have to navigate a physical world together.
True.
Going back to the white cube example from the start, if my brain subjectively decides a white cube of cyanide is actually sugar, My subjective truth gets me killed.
Right. Nature doesn't care about your subjective truth.
Exactly. So the only way we actually survive in a physical environment is by constantly interacting with objective reality to test our assumptions.
And that highlights the exact mechanism of human survival versus cognitive assumption. We survive precisely by updating the database.
Right.
You taste bitterness instead of sweetness. Your body forcefully rejects it. You spit it out. You survive to the next experience, and your neural network updates its predictive modeling.
Like, note to self, white cube does not always equal sugar.
Exactly. The fatal cognitive flaw the speaker is pointing out isn't that the initial assumption exists, it's that humans stop testing.
They just lock it in.
Yeah, they get one piece of data, form a rigid understanding, lock the door, and throw away the key.
They completely refuse to update the translation app.
Because updating the app requires immense cognitive energy. And, it means confronting the fact that you were previously wrong, which the ego absolutely hates.
Oh, the ego despises being wrong.
So since our internal databases are fiercely protected and radically different, we see this friction play out constantly in daily human conflict. Everyone walks around fiercely defending their localized hallucination as the objectively right reality.
Which is so relatable. I mean, listener, think about the last time you had a massive argument with a boss or a parent about a major life choice.
Oh, yeah.
You probably looked at their perspective and thought they were being entirely irrational. And the transcript uses this brilliant, really specific anecdote about a father and a son to deconstruct this dynamic.
The mason and the engineer.
Yes. So you have this illiterate father who has spent his entire life working as a mason. He pushes his son relentlessly to study, to get a degree, to get a comfortable office job.
Because his worldview is based on his own suffering.
Right, the father's entire cognitive framework is built around physical exhaustion. His definition of success is literally just escaping the brutal hot sun.
Meanwhile, the son's brain is operating on an entirely different logic matrix.
Totally different.
The son is overwhelmed by the academic pressure, but more importantly, he's looking at the economics. He observes his uneducated father bringing in 30,000 rupees a month through masonry.
Doing manual labor.
Right, while the degree-holding engineers he knows are struggling on 15,000 rupees a month.
So the son looks at his father and thinks, "You are a fool. Why are you forcing me into a system where I make half the money when I could just learn your trade?"
And the profound question here is who is objectively correct?
I mean, they both are.
Exactly. Based on the economic logic operating within the son's isolated neural network, he is right. Based on the physical trauma operating within the father's neural network, he is right.
But they'll just fight endlessly.
Probably destroying their relationship, yeah. Because neither possesses the cognitive flexibility to step outside their own idiot box and view the other's internal architecture.
They are completely trapped in their own contextual gravity. And honestly, it gets even more complicated when we look at how the brain creates narratives just to soothe anxiety.
Oh, the meaning-making machine.
Yes. There's another compelling story here about a man living in deep poverty. He makes this desperate vow to his family deity, his Kulataivam, promising to sacrifice a goat if he ever escapes poverty.
A classic bargain with the universe.
Right. And years pass, and he actually does become wealthy.
Yeah.
But the vow completely leaves his mind. He just forgets. Life is fine. Then a random crisis hits, and he falls on hard times again.
And observe what the human brain does when introduced to sudden chaos. It scrambles frantically for causality.
Because it despises randomness.
It hates it. So the man suddenly recalls the forgotten vow. His brain immediately fabricates a narrative. The universe has punished me because I didn't fulfill my prayer.
Which is completely unverified.
Utterly. So what is his behavioral output? Even though he is currently drowning in a financial crisis, he goes further into debt, borrowing money he absolutely does not have simply to buy a goat for sacrifice.
He exponentially worsens his actual reality just to satisfy a fabricated cognitive narrative.
He assigns completely false cause and effect to his life just to feel a sense of control over the chaos. It is the classic post hoc fallacy.
Assuming that because one event followed another, the first caused the second.
Exactly. And the speaker attributes this deeply ingrained lens of understanding to karma. But we really need to define how he is utilizing that term here.
Yeah, because usually people think of karma as like a mystical point system.
Right, but he strips away the mystical connotations. He uses karma to describe accumulated neurological bias.
Okay, so it's the ledger.
Yes. It is the ledger of our past conditioning dictating our predictive expectation of the future.
which makes perfect sense of that crazy example in the transcript where someone could literally have a bundle of money dropped in front of them by God.
The money-kicking example.
Yeah. If their internal programming, their karma, has deeply wired them for poverty and suffering, their brain won't even process the money as an opportunity. They will physically kick the cash away because their cognitive baseline just understands cheap.
Or if they have an abundance of food.
Right. Oh, right. The fasting.
Yeah.
If their identity is built around suffering, they will invent a strict religious fasting ritual just to validate their internal need to be hungry.
The brain will actively manipulate physical reality to ensure its internal predictive models remain unbroken.
It's like wearing deeply tinted sunglasses for decades. You've had them on for so long, you completely forgot the lenses are colored.
That is a great way to look at it.
Like one person wearing blue lenses looks at a massive violent rainstorm and sees a ruined picnic, a depressing day.
Sure.
But another person, standing right next to them, wearing yellow lenses, maybe a farmer whose livelihood depends on the weather, looks at the exact same atmospheric moisture and sees a profound financial blessing, a crop saved from drought.
And neither of them realizes it's just neutral atmospheric condensation.
Right. They only see the tint of their own lenses.
And if our mundane daily interactions, like navigating our careers, understanding our families, reacting to the weather, if those are so fundamentally distorted by these tinted glasses, the cognitive load multiplies exponentially when we try to grasp abstract concepts.
Like spirituality.
Exactly. When a mind trapped in that survival mechanism attempts to interact with massive concepts like philosophy or the nature of the divine, the breakdown is massive.
The transcript dives pretty deep into our overwhelming psychological tendency toward literalism with this stuff.
Our brains are desperate for literal, surface-level narratives.
Because they're cognitively cheaper to process than abstract symbolism, right?
Precisely. Look at the iconography of the goddess Kali mentioned in the source. She is historically depicted as a blue woman with 10 hands, holding a severed head, collecting blood in a bowl, and actively stepping on the chest of Siva.
Aesthetically, it is designed to be an incredibly intense, jarring image.
Extremely jarring. But the speaker dissects how humans approach esoteric art. People look at that image, run it through their literalist idiot box, and process it entirely at face value.
They literally just see a blue woman with 10 hands committing acts of violence.
Right. They completely bypass the underlying mechanism of the art, missing the deep philosophical symbolism regarding the destruction of the ego and the illusion of time, simply because their brains demand a flat, literal narrative.
It just defaults to the cheapest processing route.
Yeah. And the material brings in pop culture to demonstrate how ubiquitous this blindness to symbolism really is.
Oh, the movie reference.
Yes. There is a reference to the Tamil movie Anbe Sivam, where a character subtly embeds the number 910 into a drawing of a waterfall.
And it's a coded symbol. Right.
Yeah, about paying laborers their rightful wages.
Yeah.
But casual observers walk by, run it through their idiot box, and just see a pretty picture of water.
Or like a standard religious tribute.
Exactly. Similarly, he mentions how profound truths are hidden in plain sight within popular songs by the Meenakshi Temple, but the masses just hear a catchy melody. Art acts as a cryptographic container for truth, but very few actually possess the clarity to decrypt it.
So to achieve that decryption, to actually see past the literal surface, the philosophy introduces the concept of emanam, which translates to nakedness.
But we're not talking about physical exhibitionism here.
Right, no. It's about psychological divestment.
It raises an incredibly difficult question about the nature of truth-seeking. The argument is that becoming naked is the agonizing process of stripping away your entire conceptual framework.
Taking off the sunglasses.
Actively removing them. Your cultural ideologies, your accumulated biases, your religious dogmas, and your personal desires. It is the terrifying vulnerability of encountering reality without a protective cognitive shield.
And the human ego fights that vulnerability to the death.
It really does.
There is this brilliant moment of irony in the transcript that perfectly illustrates this resistance. A caller gets on the phone to debate the speaker about the nature of God. And the caller attempts to win the argument by aggressively quoting a specific ancient religious poem, the Thirumandiyam.
Because the caller is seeking the safety of intellectual debate grounded in an established text.
Exactly. He wants his map. And the speaker completely derails him. He essentially says, I don't care about your poem. I experience the divine directly.
And the caller loses his mind.
Utterly furious, He gets entirely hung up on defending the honor of the text. This is the ultimate trap, isn't it? We get so obsessively attached to the menu, the religious texts, the strict rules, the theological debates, that we completely forget to eat the actual meal.
We idolize the map and refuse to explore the territory.
We worship the menu describing the food while starving to death.
The brain prefers the map because the map is predictable, it's safe, and controllable. The territory is wild, unpredictable, and requires that terrifying nakedness.
So the critically pedagogical question becomes, how do you force a human being to drop their map?
How do you break through layers of literalism and cognitive bias when polite conversation simply gets absorbed into the idiot box?
Well, according to the source, you have to bypass the system entirely.
Through extreme shock.
Yeah, the speaker utilizes extreme, shock-based pedagogy. He deliberately deploys blunt, highly offensive language. He swears. He actively cultivates this unholy, rough persona.
It's a deliberate filtration mechanism.
A test of thirst. He's actively trying to repel arrogant people who are only there to judge his manners or his appearance based on their preconceived notions of what a holy person should look like.
Right, only someone experiencing a desperate thirst for actual truth will ignore the dirty cracked glass he is using to hand them water.
Which brings us to the most extreme linguistic pattern interrupt used in the material.
It does.
And before we analyze this specific metaphor, we really should state clearly to you listening, our aim here is strictly to impartially report on the content provided in the source. We are not endorsing this viewpoint. We are simply trying to convey the ideas and explain the pedagogical mechanics behind how language is used to shatter cognitive frames.
Yes, the mechanics of the language are what matter here.
With that established, the speaker uses a highly jarring, controversial metaphor. He compares God to a prostitute.
And to a mind operating within traditional religious frameworks, that word triggers an immediate, massive neurological threat response.
That's absolutely massive.
But we have to look at the psychological utility of that shock. Why deploy a taboo?
He deploys it to violently obliterate the elitism and gatekeeping that institutional structures build around the divine.
Exactly.
By using the most base, socially stigmatized comparison possible, he is making a radical argument about accessibility. A prostitute does not care about your lineage, your perceived purity, your wealth, or your caste.
Right.
By mapping that unconditional availability onto the divine, he is arguing that ultimate truth is utterly accessible to absolutely anyone who pursues it earnestly. He is stripping away the societal gatekeeping that says you must be pure enough to access the sacred.
The shock is designed to offend the religiously arrogant ego, while deeply welcoming the desperate, marginalized truth seeker.
It's intense but effective.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is an exercise in forcing profound humility. The pattern interrupt shatters the idiot box temporarily. It creates a window where true understanding can actually occur.
But that requires maintaining that humility.
Right. It requires a baseline state where you actively, constantly tell yourself, it is entirely possible that my fundamental understanding of reality is currently wrong.
Which is so hard to do.
It is. The speaker stresses that his platform is not for entertainment. It is not a debate club for people rigidly attached to their textual mania. It is exclusively for the mentally naked.
That's his other videos.
Yeah, he points to his other concepts like nothingness or sunyam and the idea of living with idiots as advanced frameworks for people willing to exist without their cognitive safety nets.
The entire process kind of reminds me of a trauma surgeon resetting a badly dislocated shoulder.
That's a great analogy.
Like if a joint is violently out of its socket, the doctor cannot just gently rub the arm and hope the bones realign. The doctor has to grab the limb and forcefully, painfully, shockingly snap it back into place.
It hurts, but it's necessary.
The speaker's abrasive approach, the swearing, the taboo metaphors, the refusal to perform traditional holiness, that is the sudden, jarring medical reset. It is a moment of acute psychological pain designed to force the cognitive joint back into alignment.
Because only after that brutal reset can actual healing or actual objective understanding begin. He is intentionally crashing your translation app so that you are forced to observe the raw data of reality for yourself.
So as we synthesize this deep dive, let's solidify what we've uncovered about our own minds. Your comprehension of the universe is heavily, relentlessly filtered.
Filtered through the idiot box.
Every interaction is run through the gauntlet of your past experiences, your accumulated neurological bias, your karma, and your desperate survival instincts. To truly understand anything at all, you must undertake the brutal work of emptying your mind.
Whether that means successfully communicating with your spouse without projecting your own insecurities or attempting to grasp the infinite nature of reality.
You have to declare war on your own literalism.
Stop confusing the menu for the meal and the map for the territory.
Exactly. As the underlying philosophy bluntly demands, you must utilize your five senses without the corruption of bias to simply discern reality. To know the fundamental difference between a flower and dirt without letting your past dictate what you see.
It's all about direct experience.
So we want to leave you, the listener, with a challenge. The next time you find yourself locked in the heated argument, maybe at work, maybe at your kitchen table, and your brain is absolutely 100% convinced that your perspective is the only rational, objective truth.
Take a breath.
Pause the algorithm. Ask yourself, are you actually seeing the objective reality of the person in front of you? Or are you just watching a re-rendered hallucination on your own personal idiot box?
And that cognitive challenge leads to one final, deeply provocative question to ponder long after we sign off.
What's that?
If every single piece of data we understand is fundamentally just new sensory input being stitched together with our old memories and our old biases, is it ever biologically or psychologically possible for a human being to experience something entirely new?
Wow.
Or are we locked in a closed loop, destined to forever recycle our own history, painting every single novel discovery with the exact same tired brush of our past?
Are we doomed to forever be trapped by that faulty language translation app, warping the beautiful, raw poetry of reality into a language only we understand? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.